Ciao a tutti e bentornati a questa lezione di grammatica e vocabolario associata all'episodio numero 6 di Italian Accelerator. As you know, my explainer lessons are in English so that you can fully understand the nuances of what happens in the chat that is fully in Italian, and you can also use subtitles for. If you haven't seen episode 6 of Italian Accelerator, I urge you to watch it. It's a lovely 30-minute chat between myself and my friend Lisa. It's fully in Italian, and the idea is that you watch it as many times as possible without subtitles and try to follow along and understand what's going on and pick up words and get questions. Then what you would do next is activate the subtitles and see if you were right about most of your assumptions, and then the week later, for several weeks, we'll be here in the studio analyzing that situation thing. If you've been enjoying Italian Accelerator, also I have a big announcement at the end of this episode, so stick around. But most of all, stick around for what I'm about to share with you, and hopefully this will really help you expand your knowledge of Italian and vocabulary and expressions. So, okay, senti Lisa, che ti manca dell'Italia?
Diciamo un po' la cultura italiana, anche tutto ciò che riguarda la moda, fashion, style, tutte queste cose che diciamo qui si fa più una vita da mare, diciamo c'è meno vita mondana, e quindi qualche volta sì, mi mancano le nostre tradizioni, la nostra cultura.
The first expression is when I asked Lisa, che ti manca dell'Italia? So, what do you miss of Italy, or what do you miss about Italy? Two things I want to point out. One is the way I'm asking what. There are a few ways of saying what. Che cosa, and cosa. These are the ways of asking what when what follows is a verb and not a noun. For example, che mangi stasera, or che cosa mangi stasera, or cosa mangi stasera. Anyway, I'm using the che, which is the most colloquial version of saying what. It's not bad or good, it's what is used usually in the south of Italy over the other version of cosa, but they're all right. And you can always use che cosa as well when you're using it with a verb afterwards. So, che cosa ti manca? Here's the verb mancare, which is to miss. Now, mancare is a funny verb and it works just like piacere. So, piacere in English we say I like pizza, but in Italian we say pizza is pleasing to me, and therefore we end up saying mi piace la pizza, ti piace la pizza, le piace la pizza, and gli piace la pizza, using the indirect object pronoun. That's what mancare does. So it's like saying to be missing from, kind of. So it is followed by an indirect object pronoun. So mi manca, I miss, or literally it's missing from me. Ti manca, you miss, or literally it's missing from you. And then gli manca, it's missing from him. Le manca, it's missing from her, and so on. I ask you to revise the indirect object pronouns if you're in doubt. I forgot to close the chat for the support of my website, which I sometimes do myself because I like to interact with you guys. So if you happen to be on my website and happen to have a question about the website or on one of my courses, you might find me answering. Anyway, back to you. Lisa says, so these are all hesitation words, obviously. You can use any of them, there are specific Italian ones, and be is the most Italian one. It's short for bene. As you can notice, as you see it, it's not spelled with an accent, it's spelled with an apostrophe. And as you know, in Italian, an apostrophe is replacing something that has gone missing, and in this case, it's ne. So bene, well. So Lisa is saying, well, and then she starts with a comment, obviously. So if you're not using be, go ahead and use it. It's very, very common. What does she miss? She misses the Italian traditions, blah, 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 but she misses tutto ciò che riguarda la moda. Now, here's two things that I want to talk about. Is that tutto ciò che, everything, and riguarda la moda, regarding fashion. So everything regarding fashion. But you wouldn't probably come up with that. And why is that? Well, because the Italian way of saying everything, of course, it's tutto. But here's a problem. Tutto works meaning everything as the object of my sentence. For example, io mangio tutto, I eat everything. Or io so tutto, I know it all. Stuff like that. So tutto means everything, but it's the object of a sentence. As the subject of a sentence, it's a little bit trickier because it needs a little bit of help. So, we could say tutto quello che, so tutto quello becomes like the subject, everything which. Or if you don't want to say quello, you can use ciò, which is another way of saying quello, very rarely used. But so tutto ciò, that is now everything. So what's that che? Because that's something that I hear a lot from English speakers, not using the che, because you might get to the point of saying tutto quello, everything as the subject, but then you might not say the che, because basically you've just said quello, you think you already have the that or the which, everything which regards. So it makes sense that not to have the che, but guess what? You really have to have the che. So to say everything as the subject of a sentence, you're going to have to say tutto ciò che, followed by the verb in the third person, because tutto is a singular item. Tutto ciò che riguarda, everything that regards or that pertains to. Or tutto ciò che, which is just the same thing, okay? So you just choose one or the other. Qui, meaning qui in Australia or in Sunshine Coast, where Lisa and I live, si fa più una vita da mare. Si fa. That's the impersonal of the verb fare. Si fa. It's like saying one does or one leads in this case, because we're talking about a life. So in Italian, si fa una vita, one lives a life or leads a life. In English, we don't use does or do. But in Italian, it's uno or si vive, or si fa una vita. One has a life. Si fa una vita da mare. I know you hate Italian prepositions, like we all hate all prepositions in any language, and it's because they're very unpredictable. So, what's this thing about da? Well, we have just created a phrase. Vita da mare, it's like a beach life, okay? Vita da sogno, it's a dream life. So we are creating what I call a phrase. So like a new block, a new item, a new word in a certain way. Oftentimes when we create a new word by merging two nouns, the preposition that we use is da for no particular reason. That's how we do it. So si fa una vita da mare, people here live a beach life. Anyway. Qualche volta mi mancano, sì, le nostre tradizioni. Sometimes I miss, yes, our traditions. So what's that sì? That sì is something that I noticed that this new way of showing the text is really just leaving my ugly face out. So I hope you don't mind. I don't know. I might get rid of it as I explain. So, mi mancano le tradizioni. Mi mancano, it's in the plural because, like I said before, mancare works like piacere. So the subject of the verb is really what you think is the object. So our traditions is the subject of the verb mancare. So our traditions are missing from me. Mi mancano le nostre tradizioni. That sì is just like a filler. And later we'll see a no as a filler. So there's no real right way of using it. I mean, I don't use it much. I use the no more than the si. But it's like saying, in this case, obviously, I miss, our traditions. So try it. See if it fits in your sentences and see what your friends say when you're using it. So, of course, you're not saying si meaning yes, okay? So you're saying si as a filler. I'll give you an example. A me piace andare al mare, fare surf, sì, anche fare sport. kind of didn't make sense because surfing is a sport. Anyway, that's not the point. I hope you got when we use it. Per esempio, a pescare prima di venire in Australia, o prima di partire per le crociere,
Sì.
com'era la tua giornata tipica?
Ho sempre sentito l'impulso di andare un po' controcorrente.
Prima di venire in Australia, prima di partire per le crociere, here is the prima, before. Now you know the word prima is before, but oftentimes English speakers don't get what's next. So if you're wanting to say prima and a verb, in English say before coming, before starting, before eating. In Italian we must say prima di and the infinitive. Prima di venire, prima di mangiare, prima di partire, and so on. The opposite would be dopo. There's a little difference. We don't say dopo di venire or dopo di mangiare, but with dopo, the structure is very different and we use the past participle. So we say dopo mangiato, dopo bevuto, dopo, but here's the thing, it doesn't work all the time. It actually rarely works, what I just said, because the most common way, get rid of that, the most common way of using the dopo with a verb like after eating in Italian is actually using a very difficult construction. So I'm going to pull out my other whiteboard, because what we would say is dopo aver mangiato, dopo aver dormito. It's like saying after having eaten, after having slept. So keep that in mind if you need to say after followed by a verb, because the structure is quite different from English. Andare controcorrente, that's just like a saying, to go against the current, meaning being revolutionary, being just not doing what other people are doing. So andare controcorrente is a really cute expression. It's fairly easy to use. You would say it the way Lisa used it, mi piace andare controcorrente, or sono sempre andata controcorrente. I can't remember what she said. But yeah, I've always been against the current. So it's an easy sentence to use. Perfetto, ragazzi, this is the end of this explainer lesson for episode 6 of Italian Accelerator. Now here is the announcement. It takes quite some time to produce this kind of content. That's because apart from recording the chat, I then record the video, but then what needs to be done is I need somebody to do the subtitling or the transcription, and then I need my assistant to synchronize the subtitles on YouTube, and then I need somebody to do the video editing. So there is a little bit of a cost, and I'm happy to keep doing this. But what I thought I was going to do, but I'm not, was to make Italian Accelerator a private product. So I was going to, as of 2016, charge a very small amount for you guys to keep using Italian Accelerator, but then I realized it's not really what I want to be doing. Like I really want this to be as public as possible and as many people to benefit from it as possible, because there is nothing like this, and you keep saying this in the comments, nobody is doing something like this for an advanced level. So what's the solution? Well, I have created a support page. So if you find value in this particular series, you've learned something, if you're looking forward to it every week, what you might want to consider is to support the series so that it doesn't die. And the way you do it is I've created a very simple page. You can check the link in the description and in the annotations up here. But basically, what I would love you to do, if you want and if you can, is either make a one-off contribution. You can send as little as much as you want. There are a few options. If you want to send more, then you just complete 2 donations. That's fine. Okay, whatever you send is much appreciated. Like I said, it will help me get the help that I need to keep producing this series. Also, there is an option to commit to a 12-month support, which means every month you would make a very small donation. And again, there are different options. So if you do that, I would be tremendously grateful to you, and everybody else also will be, because so many people watch the series, and it would be great if those who can contribute a little bit to keep it running. Anyway, it's not something that you have to do, because I'll try and keep doing it regardless. I don't want to make this into a paid product, basically. So if you can support it whichever way you can, then it would be fantastic. Anyway, ci vediamo la settimana prossima per un'altra lezione di grammatica e vocabolario, quella che io chiamo Explainer Lesson, e per il resto, se volete scoprire qualcosa di più su di me e sul mio sito, si trova tutto a italymedisi.com. Ci vediamo la settimana prossima, un bacione e buonissimo 2017 a tutti voi e alle vostre famiglie e agli amici. Ciao ciao!